A group of climate wackos threw soup on the Mona Lisa yesterday. They're speaking some sort of barbaric tongue. I don't know if that's... Are they channeling demons or something? I can't quite make out what they're saying. But they are the climate action maniacs who keep traveling all over the world and throwing soup on priceless works of art. And there's cops there, but the cops... Oh no, those are activists too. Where are the cops? Where are the museum guards? Where are the docents even? Why won't someone tackle these people and get them away from a priceless work of Western art? These people, these climate cultists, are like the Taliban blowing up the ancient Buddha statues, the Buddhas of Bamiyan in Afghanistan. Except they're less justified. At least when the Taliban blew up the Buddha statues, they were blowing up idols. I'm not defending it. I don't think the Taliban is justified in almost anything it does. But at least I can understand why a monotheist might get rid of pagan idols. Here, though, these climate cultists are blowing up beautiful pieces of Western art, or at least trying to ruin them with soup. Why? Because the climate cult has always been about punishing our civilization. The climate cult, I call it a cult because it's like a cultus, it's a form of religion, a perverted and false religion, but it's a form of religion that has all the hallmarks of religion. It has the notion of original sin, it has the notion of redemption, it has an apocalypse, and it has an eschatology, it has everything. And in the climate religion, our civilization is the cause of the fall. In the climate cult, it's we in the West who have industrialized. We have polluted our earth and set the earth on a course for utter destruction. And so only we can save ourselves. We need to stop driving cars and stop having babies and stop eating meat and stop doing anything. We need to stop living and growing and developing in order to, save the world. So that's why they're not going to destroy indigenous art. They're also not going to destroy modern art because modern art also is about punishing our civilization. Modern art also is about feeling shame and guilt and looking at ourselves as decadent objects. It's about degrading us. So, of course, no surprise there whatsoever. They want to punish our civilization, and a great way to do it, beyond telling us not to have families anymore and destroying what we eat and destroying how we move and how we live, is destroying beauty. Destroying beauty is perhaps the most efficient way to demoralize a civilization. President Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, has just been sentenced to 4 months in prison for doing exactly what Hunter Biden did. Well, no, I'm sorry, not exactly what Hunter Biden did. You've probably seen those clips, with the hookers and the drugs and the guns. Peter Navarro never did any of that stuff. Not exactly what Hunter Biden did in that Peter Navarro never shook down foreign oligarchs and sold American influence for millions and millions of dollars. He never did that. Peter Navarro just didn't show up to testify before Congress. That's why he's going to the clink for 4 months. The exact same thing that Hunter Biden did, Hunter Biden gets off scot-free. Peter Navarro was asked to appear before the January 6th committee in March of 2022. He was ordered to provide documents to that committee 1 month prior. He didn't do either of those things, citing executive privilege. This is a top advisor to the President of the United States, and the Congress has absolutely no right to drag him before them. That would be a major weakening of the separation of powers. Congress is not absolute. Congress is not supreme in the United States. Congress is one of the 3 branches of government, and they have no right to do that. So now the judiciary has sentenced Peter Navarro to 4 months in prison. He was ordered also to pay a fine of $9,500, which is a reduction, by the way. The U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta wanted to sentence him to 6 months in prison and fine him $200,000. That was what the Justice Department requested. Actually, I'm being unfair to Judge Amit Mehta. Judge Amit Mehta was the one who heard this request and then reduced that. But it's still ridiculous. The guy sentenced him to prison and charged him a bunch of money for what Hunter Biden did. Hunter Biden also defied a subpoena to appear before the House Oversight Committee for a closed-door deposition. He didn't do it. He held a big press conference in front of the Capitol about how he wasn't going to do it. Then he made a big hullabaloo inside the Capitol later on about how he wasn't going to do it, and he gets off scot-free. Completely lawless. What's the point of this? The point of putting Peter Navarro, a very amiable economic advisor, into prison is to demoralize the right. It's to discourage people ever from working for Donald Trump, even in senior White House positions. It's just to discourage anyone from ever contradicting the liberal ruling class. Because they'll say, yeah, if you have a difference of opinion on trade, I mean, think about this. Peter Navarro, he's a protectionist. Peter Navarro was the pro-tariff advisor in the Trump White House. And the liberal establishment is globalist. A lot of the Trump election was about opposition to globalism, just as the Brexit was about opposition to globalism, just as Viktor Orban in Hungary, his election was about opposition to globalism, just like Giorgia Meloni's election in Italy was about opposition to globalism. And the libs, they love globalism. They hate national borders. They hate national sovereignty. They want to break all of that down and have us all just be governed by the blob. And so they go after this guy in particular, Peter Navarro. And Navarro has stood very firm. He just went on TV to explain that throwing him in the clink is about a lot more than just him.
If anybody thinks they're not trying to put Donald Trump in prison for 700 years, they just need to look at what they did to me yesterday. They're not messing around. 4 months in prison. They even want to put me in prison before I can have my appeal in this case. And they want Trump in prison and out of the Oval Office, and they want folks like me not to be able to help him out. And here's the thing. Here's what I'd ask your viewers to understand. It's not rare. I am the first senior White House advisor, what they call alter ego to the president, ever to be charged with this alleged crime. And the irony here, Sean, the irony is that the Department of Justice itself has maintained a policy for more than 50 years that says that senior advisors like me absolutely cannot be compelled to testify before Congress. Why? Because it violates the constitutional separation of powers and interferes with the ability of executive privilege to provide effective presidential decision-making.
Totally right. If the Congress can jail senior presidential advisors for refusing to give them whatever they want and show up whenever they want, that is an obliteration of the separation of powers. Rather than having 3 co-equal branches of government, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, now we've just got a supreme legislature. And the executive works for the legislature, the president works for the Congress. That's not what I learned in civics class, but no one learns anything in civics class anymore. Peter Navarro's point, really brilliant here. So how do you make sense of that? How could the DOJ, which for 50 years has maintained this policy of saying that the senior White House advisors can't be compelled to testify before Congress and provide documents to them, how could the DOJ then simultaneously prosecute a Trump senior White House advisor for doing that? Because they don't view the Trump White House as legitimate. That's why. You want to talk about election deniers and deniers of the legitimacy of our sacred democracy. It's the Biden White House. It's the DOJ that's doing that. They don't view Peter Navarro as a normal senior White House advisor because they don't view Donald Trump as a normal president. They don't view any of them as legitimate. So anything can be done to Trump. And in their minds, it won't upset the norms of our sacred democracy. Yeah, in our sacred democracy, we usually don't jail the opposition leader, but Trump's different. We can't normalize him. Yeah, in our democracy, we usually don't jail former presidents, but Trump's different. He's not a real president. He's a fake president. His voters, they're not real Americans. They're deplorable, irredeemable Americans. They don't deserve any rights. Jail them too. Any of them, if any of them happen to be walking even within 5 miles of the Capitol that day, maybe they were going to go get a drink at Old Ebbitt's Grill, but yeah, just round them up too. Some Midwestern granny was taking pictures on the National Mall. Yeah, get her too. None of these people are legitimate. You're not legitimate. You're a deplorable, irredeemable. You oppose Joe Biden. You're a threat to democracy. That's what this is about. That's the way it does make sense. is the problem. It makes sense if you accept their very dangerous premises that half of the country is not legit or entitled to political rights. That was a good clip, huh? Now, ring that bell. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. See you next time.